Mister!
Hey, Mr. Mesa here. We've got a lot of history in Costa Mesa, and today's video is all about the classics. We're going to be driving down memory lane with a classic Costa Mesan, a volunteer from the Costa Mesa Historical Society who's lived here since 1959. And we're going to be touring around town in style. We're going to be rocking a 1965 Mustang, thanks to our good friends at Classic Mustang Rentals, located at 17th and Newport Boulevard. Our first stop is at Mesa Water. Since 1960, Mesa Water has been providing clean, affordable drinking water for Costa Mesa, parts of Newport Beach, and John Wayne Airport. This video was made possible by their generous support and delicious drinking water. So let's get hydrated. What was here in this location before Classic Mustang Rentals?
Compass Rambler was here in '59 in this building with some extensions over the years to other businesses. Then the second thing that came along was a patio furniture place. So they had conditional use to put patio furniture out front. And then finally it was Amco from the 60s. When the Mustang came out with the first design, 1964, when they introduced the car at the World's Fair, that first day they took 20,000 orders, and over the next 3.5 years, they sold 1 million cars. It's the first design of anything that I really liked, and I've always loved the 65 body style. In 67, the cars got bigger, the interiors got smaller. So from a rental point of view, where you could get more people in the car, the 65, 66 made more sense.
What can you tell us about Andre, the 1965 fastback we'll be driving today?
Okay, Andre is my favorite Mustang. It has an A-code engine, which is the higher horsepower, 2.5-inch exhaust. It's got the right stance, it's got the right wheels, it's got the right tires, stiffer suspension. It's a dream to drive. It just rumbles along. And if you ever want to hit the gas, it really performs.
So how old were you when you moved to Costa Mesa?
I was 3 months old.
And where were your parents before that?
We were in Oxnard. My mom worked for Camarillo State Hospital as a teacher there, and my dad was working at Atascadero State Prison in San Luis Obispo.
What made your parents decide to move to Costa Mesa?
They had started building Fairview State Hospital, and my dad was already a state employee, and so he came down here and got a position as a plumber at Fairview State Hospital.
Your very first house was on Meyer Place in Costa Mesa, correct?
Correct. It had a large backyard. It was my mom and my dad and 6 kids. I was the youngest of 6.
Whoa, how many bedrooms in this house?
2. This was in 1959. There were not a whole lot of houses available, and we were the post-World War II baby boom era.
So of all the places you could have gone for lunch in Costa Mesa, you chose the Little Pickle. What significance does that have for you?
Well, Little Pickle has always been like, they had the most delicious menu and the most variety. And it was, at the time, it was the healthiest option out there, and it was delicious. I personally like the number 1.
You have to go with number 1.
Yeah, it's what made them famous. It's got a nice variety of flavors with the salami and the ham and the cheese and the dressing.
So Paularino was your elementary school, is that correct?
Yes.
What was it like back then, going to kindergarten at Paularino?
Okay, one of the things that I remember in kindergarten was the lady doing the flannel storyboard. You know, high tech for then, you know.
The flannel storyboard.
I also remember we would all line up and we would parade through the nurse's office, and they had the sugar cubes with the polio vaccine. And you would take your little sugar cube and eat your sugar cube and then line up and go out the back door. It was just a flow through in one door and out the other.
So what year did you start going to St. John's?
1964.
So you were a Catholic schoolgirl.
Catholic schoolgirl uniform every day. Never had to think about coordinating an outfit or anything. Just put on the white shirt and the plaid skirt. There were 50 kids to a room.
Wow.
And you had an Irish nun with a thick robe at the head of the class, and everybody was so well behaved, and there were no discipline problems because you knew what would happen because there was still the ruler
the knuckle?
on the knuckles. Yeah. I never had that happen.
Tell me about your job at South Coast Plaza.
I was hired to work in the cosmetics area, which is really funny because I never wear makeup. But
So you're a perfect person to do it.
Yeah, there was Sears, then there was Woolworths in the middle, and then May Company at the other end. And then the Carousel was in the middle as well. The Carousel's been there forever.
And what's your feelings now that Sears is closing?
It's sad because, of course, my first job was there. And a lot of the people that I went to high school with, South Coast Plaza was where everybody had their first job. It was either there or Harbor Boulevard or, the fast food restaurants.
So what year did you start Costa Mesa High?
September of 1973.
And how long had the school been operational at that time?
I have a yearbook that says 1959 on it, but I think that the first graduating classes were in like 1962. And then this area right here had been the farm complex. They had horses, bulls, goats, pigs. You could get a credit.
Wait, you had bulls out there?
Yeah.
Do you remember how many students were at the school at that time?
There were about 2,000.
So big right from the start.
Yeah.
And was it built for the burgeoning neighborhoods at the time, or were people getting bussed in?
It was for the kids in the neighborhood because there were all those housing tracts and people had big families back then.
Was there a big rivalry with Estancia at the time?
Oh yeah, that's crosstown rivalry. There were some pranks that happened. And somehow there was a car in the pool one year.
Whose car, whose pool?
Costa Mesa High School had a car in it at one time.
Was there any dating between the two schools? Or was that verboten?
No, it was okay. It wasn't like Sharks and the Jets and the West Side Story.
Well, I wasn't there.
It was okay. Well, during the 70s, it was, sorry to say, sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Of which I'm sure you didn't participate at all.
No, never touched the stuff. I graduated from Costa Mesa High School a semester early. Then I moved away for a couple of years.
You moved away from Costa Mesa?
I know.
How could you?
Well, and then moved back down, and I did continue over at OCC. It was all one level. There were a few of the bigger buildings like the library, and then the Allied Health building, Allied Science building. No air conditioning.
Kind of like this car.
Yeah. And parking was not a problem. There used to be a whole lot more activities for families to do. The ice capades, the movie theater, the putt-putt golf course, the Kona lanes.
Do you remember when it closed?
Yeah. I sent my kids over and they did some dumpster diving, and I have a bowling ball and a pin.
So now we're going down Harbor Boulevard, the site of the original Fish Fry Parade.
That's right.
And you remember going to that as a child?
Yes, it was a 3-day thing, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. They would always be at Lions Park. On Saturday morning, they would have the parade.
Who would participate in the parade?
The Boy Scouts, the Cub Scouts, the Girl Scouts, Indian Maidens, the high schools with their marching bands, and their drill team.
Would you ever come to Newport Boulevard for the shops along this street?
There was Pink's, and then there was T. McCool's hardware store. Grant Boys we went to regularly for camping supplies, and Levi's, because that's where you got your Levi's. South Coast Repertoire started in a storefront over on Newport Boulevard here.
Really? Was it a small theater?
It was like a 40-seat theater.
After watching Costa Mesa grow up over the last 50 years, what's your impression of the progress?
Most of the progress has been wonderful. I do miss certain aspects, like a little bit of open space. You know, the small town feel of being able to walk in and, you know the person behind the counter and stuff like that. But in general, I like the diversity as far as, where to eat, where to shop, where to live. I'm really surprised that, the houses in the neighborhood that I live in are now going for $1 million, because the house that I grew up in was $127,000.
I'd like to thank Classic Mustang Rentals, the Costa Mesa Historical Society, Mesa Water, and especially Estelle for spending the afternoon showing us her Costa Mesa. It's a beautiful day out there. Get out and enjoy some of the classics yourself.